Hello and welcome back to the podcast. We have made it through another week.
Another week gone.
Episode 2 of 10 Kids, No Sweat.
10 kids, no sweat.
None at all.
Was it a hard week for you?
No, I think there was quite a few exciting highlights to the week. Stuff that sort of gave a bit of variety to life.
Like?
Well, I'd say my frightening experience with a 5-year-old daughter saying that there was a big spider behind my head while I was driving would be quite up there.
This is a great story.
Yes. So let's just set the mood a bit. About 2 weeks ago, we were at the local shops and we opened the back of the van and we saw something drop down. And then we're like, what was that? What was that? And one of my children, she loves insects and bugs and cares for them. And she's very valuable in the family.
Yes.
It was a big huntsman. And she's like, don't kill it. I'm like, I'm not touching it. Like, get it out. And it disappeared.
Yes. But you did end up touching it.
I did. And I will say that, one, of course, I videoed the experience because I feel like sometimes when you're alone and videoing it, it's like a camaraderie. I don't know, but I needed that. And I have uploaded that video to my YouTube channel, which, do we even know how to link?
We'll figure it out.
We'll try our best. But, man, it's interesting because I posted about it on the local notice board and it's the engagement that I love. I love the banter and different people's opinions and stuff like that. And it was, to me, quite alarming how many people said to burn the car to the ground. And
I was one of those people.
And how many people suggested that I just lay my hands out like a loving embrace to remove it from the van. Nope. And then after that, I had kind of regrouped, and the event that we were at, the little girls finished their event first. So I was driving to a local playground to waste some time before I had to pick up other children. And I look on the windscreen wiper and I see a bee, a honeybee, desperately clinging to the wiper blade on the outside of the van. And it's trying to like tuck its body underneath, and I'm just instinctively going, that's one of our bees.
Yeah, we just got bees. We just got a hive.
And our beehive is directly in front of where the van
Where we parked the van.
is parked.
So it was almost definitely one of our bees.
So I had been observing the bees, a week or so ago, and I did actually see an imposter bee try to get into the beehive.
Did it get murdered?
And it went in, and suddenly it was being dragged out by another bee and repeatedly stung and attacked.
Wow.
And then it was dead, left, and then the bee went back in. I mean, I don't know. But it definitely was like a you do not belong in here thing. So that was my test. I'm like, oh, okay, I know what I'll do. I'll collect the bee.
Oh, right. So you were worried that if it wasn't one of our bees, you were sending it to its death.
Yeah, but if I didn't take it home, it would die anyhow because it belongs with our hive.
But would it find its way back? Don't they, go 10 kilometres away?
I know, but this is a new swarm that we've only introduced a few weeks ago. So, I don't know. I just felt I got to collect it with something. Grabbed a little barf bag from the glove box and popped it in the barf bag.
We have a couple of spewers.
Yeah.
In our van.
And I'm like, this is long enough. It's slippery. There's no way the bee's going to get out. Come back to the van.
One of the perks of the van is that it has rubber mats on the floor, not carpet.
Very good for mopping out spews. Come back to the van. The bee is gone. It's gone. I've got now a loose honeybee in the van. Who knows what's going to happen? So that's when I started driving and saw it just sitting next to me on the center console. So I drove home. I put the bee in the hive and it went in.
I wouldn't have bothered.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, I would have let it die.
I know. But yeah, so that was pretty exciting.
Getting back to the spider for a sec. It was a huntsman.
Mm.
For all you non-Australians that may be watching, huntsmans are they our biggest spider? Australia? They can get quite big. They're probably at their biggest, maybe like that.
We should link that other video on your channel from years ago.
Yeah.
We had
That was a big one.
huge
That was
huntsman.
pretty big.
And for me, it was more the fact that it was directly behind my head and that I have knowledge that huntsmans can be wicked fast.
Oh, yeah.
Wicked fast.
And the females, when they're in heat or whatever they do, they can be quite poisonous. I got stung by a huntsman at work once.
Bitten.
And I've bitten. And it made my hand go weird. It didn't puff up or anything or nothing like that. But it just gave me a tingle in my hand for a few hours.
No thanks. And then to really round off my week, yesterday when I was on my walk, I walk in the mornings and I listen to Jordan Peterson to grow my brain.
Mm-hmm.
And I go around the corner and there's a freshly killed kangaroo on the road.
We don't ride them to work. But
And
they do occasionally hop out on the road and get hit.
Yeah.
Which is sad. It's always sad.
And I've become friends with a few people that are actual wildlife rescuers, and they've spoken about, you know, if you do see an injured or dead animal on the road, a lot of our animals carry their young in a pouch.
Mhm.
Check the pouch.
Australia's a very pouchy country.
Very pouchy. Not Fauci. Pouchy. And so it's one of those like, and so it was very freshly hit,
Still warm.
and I dragged it off the road first because I'm like, you don't want to be on the road and then you're on the news.
This is like in the morning, yeah, like 6 o'clock.
Yeah,
in the
6:30
morning.
in the morning. So I drag it off the road. It's still very warm. I'm like, oh no. And then I'm like, well, first thing to check. This is important. Don't go searching for a pouch. You search for gender. Because I know stories of people that are rummaging around trying to find a pouch and it's a male.
Mhm.
So that was established. It was a female. And then the pouch ends up being quite fascinating. I think it's kind of like parenting. You get used to changing dirty nappies and spews and blood and all sorts of stuff. You kind of just head down on with the job. Doesn't mean you love it.
I think there was a bit with the first kid. There was a bit there where I was still a bit tender, and you were just hands in poo, like elbow deep, and I'm sitting there like tenderly, like you just
We're making a moose out of it.
you said moose.
But I don't know. I think now that I'm very old lady, I kind of know my personality a bit more. And while I'm trying to temper that part that overanalyzes researches, I am pretty good with a situation where it's like something needs to be done and just do it. Which is why pulling the kangaroo off the road and everything, I just did the tasks rather than being like, oh my goodness, it's horrible. Wah, wah, wah. And it was quite fascinating. So now I know what to do. Is, you know, make sure you're safe. Get the animal off the road if you can.
Don't
Look
be
for
scared.
the pouch. And there's an amazing app.
What if it was still alive? And
If it was still alive, and it was safe, like I wouldn't be injured, I'd probably still try to get it off the road.
well, that's what I was going to say. If it's still alive, they're dangerous.
Yeah, you have to be careful.
They're like velociraptors with
Yeah.
those legs.
Well, the leg was no longer intact in any way.
All right, let's not dwell.
Yeah, so so it was quite
Well-
sort of a nature-ish week for me. Very
I don't wanna-
different.
I don't want to, put you down a rung, but I managed to paint a toilet.
Yeah.
Well, not the toilet, the walls around it. So that was my week, pretty much.
I'm so proud of you. But we do, for a family of, it's 12, yeah?
Yes.
We only have one toilet.
You know how I remember that? We have a 12-seater van, and it's completely full. If we all go.
I always think there's 2 of us plus 10.
I do occasionally think that way, but it's mostly van. Probably because I'm a car guy.
Maybe, yeah.
Speaking of car guys, our little fella has learnt a new trick.
Yeah, little James.
Are we using names?
Yeah,
Really?
sure.
Our youngest, 2-year-old, James. Should we mention the YouTube channel?
Why not?
We watch a YouTube channel called, what's it called?
Is it Wilderness Cooking?
Wilderness Cooking. Some guy in Azerbaijan. He's got quite a big channel. I started watching it a while ago, and it's just relaxing. I just watch him when I'm eating my breakfast. Anyway, James has picked something up. When he eats something, like he cooks in the wilderness, when he finally eats the meal, he'll like eat it and like nod, and then he'll look at the camera and go, super.
Because obviously English is not his native tongue.
What do they speak? It's some
they
kind of
Russian?
Russian?
Yeah.
If
Which
you know,
is-
let us know.
Yeah.
If you know the channel, woohoo. I think, yeah, it's a good channel. Anyway, James has started doing this. So he'll eat something and then nod and then put his little thumb up
Super.
and do his little...
But he has become quite cheeky and he's been sneaking food off the bench and stealing food from people's plates, and he'll just look up at you, smile and go, super. Which is like, man.
Is that how he gets away with it?
Yeah.
Yeah, just pile on the cute. You get away with anything.
Yeah. He's a very
He
good
loves stealing
boy.
pizza dough
Yeah.
from the bench.
But he is, I'd say he is, I mean, a lot of people might refer to it as terrible twos.
He's not terrible.
He's not, though, but I recognize it, that it's that level where his understanding is more advanced than his speech, and he's frustrated. But he's become quite good at just tapping the leg, and we follow him.
Mhm.
He's normally asking for something he can't have.
Yeah, he'll normally point like...
But
and if you follow him, he'll show you what he wants.
and
It's normally
definitely,
a biscuit.
yeah, and
Or
a
his
lot
drink.
of praise. Even if he doesn't get the thing he wants, the fact that he's communicating really well, he's a good little boy. And he's napping right now, which is, this podcast is brought to you by our sponsor, James's Nap.
It wouldn't happen without it. So we wanted to do like a main subject every week,
Yeah.
and this can change. Like, we're learning. But this week's subject was... It comes out of a question that we get asked a lot. How do you do it with 10 kids?
Or I don't know how you do it. And then,
Yeah, it's
and we
normally
sort
like,
of smile.
we've
like,
got 2 or 3 and it's a nightmare. How do you do it with 10? And it never really was 10. It's only 10 now.
yeah, and I only had children one at a time.
No twins.
I didn't magically arrive at 10, and I didn't magically become fairly chilled, relaxed kind of person. I mean, we both enjoy life, and we both prefer fun and jokes
And chills.
and chills and no stress.
No
I'm
stress.
a reformed stress head, I would have to say, and I still work at not worrying about things that are unimportant. But that's probably a big misconception a lot of people have. They straight away, like you said, going, oh, you've got 10 kids and oh my goodness, I only have 2 kids. How do you do it? And really, the fact of the matter is, we started with one child.
We started with 1. And in some cases, people that have triplets have a much harder job.
Absolutely.
Having 3 kids at once, same age, same needs, same uselessness, would be really hard. But having them one at a time, you raise them one at a time. And the problems occur one at a time. And although most parents would admit the first kid is the trial run, it's the kid you make most mistakes on. I think there's a fundamental rule from the very beginning of our parenting journey was I forgot what I was going to say. Sorry, it was something deep and meaningful.
Well, I think, backtracking, in episode 1, we spoke about basically the journey of the dating to getting engaged and married. And then we were married for 4 months, and then I was pregnant with Ethan.
Mm-hmm.
So our first wedding anniversary was the end of March, and then on the 1st of May, we had our first child.
Mm-hmm.
So to heaps of people, are you remembering what you were going to say?
Yes. Yeah.
To a lot of people, they're like, I don't know about you, but it was a huge adjustment going from just the two of us to having a child.
Mm-hmm.
So the first child was so hard. And hey, the first 6 weeks for me, breastfeeding was really hard. And my expectation was that I would be pregnant for just under 40 weeks. I'd naturally go into labor and it would be all peaceful.
Yep.
Couple hours later, I'd have my baby and I'd eat Icy Pulse. That was my plan.
Good plan.
It didn't end up like that.
No.
It ended up being very traumatic, emergency cesarean. It was really difficult. So I'm basically considering myself still a newlywed. Like, we're in our first rental after being married.
Yep.
And I had this very traumatic delivery. It was very personally disappointing to have. And then I had this new baby, and then I'm recovering from the cesarean. I'm learning how to breastfeed.
Well, that's what they don't tell you about cesareans is it's a long recovery.
Yeah. And
like having a kid naturally is one day and you're done pretty much. There could be some pains afterwards and whatever. But a cesarean is like you're 6 weeks down.
Yeah. And after 15 plus hours of labor, I don't even know if anybody wants to know the whole story, but my body was very traumatized, and then I had a cesarean. So the recovery afterwards was really difficult. Very different to an elective or scheduled cesarean, but you still need, I'd say, minimum of 6 weeks for your body to really recover. And the realization for women, if you're watching this or listening to this, if you have a cesarean and you didn't want to have one, or you were advised, or you thought it was a good idea, you did not fail. I carried around, probably for my first 4 kids, this idea of a real mother has a baby out of her vagina. I know,
She would have pushed through.
I'm sorry.
The real mother would have done it.
Should keep this PG, but...
Vagina's PG.
I know, but...
It's an anatomical word.
There's still this stigma associated with women that have a cesarean that they didn't try hard enough, or they're less of a mother. And hey, I am a rarity. I have had 10 cesareans, and I'm still standing. And I will tell you, I can still jump on a trampoline and not wet my pants. So there are some bonuses
or have things
to
fall
it.
out.
But yeah, before we go down that rabbit hole a bit too much, I think that one thing a lot of people think is like, it's just kind of magically everything happened because we're chilled out parents. And I'd say, are you ready? Are you ready for the inside info? Have a routine. Have a plan. Have boundaries. And you better be consistent.
That's a big word.
So
it's a big word for us.
For us, I think, me in particular, I like things to be tidy. You have definitely embraced it far more than me, this 7 o'clock clock off.
Oh yeah, I love my clock off.
And Ben loves everything. The dishes are done, the washing's done. There ain't no piles and nothing left, so he can fully chill.
Fully chill.
And we really do.
Oh, yeah.
We really do. But it started when we had that little kid and all the many, many toys.
Well, look, for the first 6 months, I'm probably going to get shot for saying this, but they're pretty easy. For a father, the mother's very busy. I don't want to take anything away from that. A lot of mothers out there, good on you. Like, I think the first 6 months maybe the first year is probably the hardest year for a mother. When they get old enough to sort of take care of themselves a bit more, and get off the breast, that takes a load off the mum.
But other challenges come.
Oh, of course. But physically, would you say?
Well, I started breastfeeding on the 1st of May, 2005. And then I had maybe a few months break between each child. And I was pregnant. Like, that was my break, being pregnant. And I breastfed until November 2000 and I don't remember what year James was born in.
Oh.
He just turned 2.
2019.
He's 19.
2019.
So
yeah.
I then breastfed until he was 1.
2020. Yeah.
So I breastfed from 2005 basically until 2020. And that doesn't seem humanly possible that I did that. That's quite amazing.
That's a lot of milk.
But, I think it's being flexible because, yeah, you could say the first 6 months brutal.
Yeah.
Finding routines, the breastfeeding. And I'm talking generally. We know there's always extenuating circumstances with some people. So this is our experience.
Well, from my dad perspective, I would come home from work and be looking for things to do to help you out.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, obviously I can't breastfeed. So I would, change the nappies or give the baths or, clean up, cook dinner or whatever I could do. Because I felt fairly useless for the first 6 months because the baby was all about you.
Mm-hmm.
So as a dad, I can say when they're young, they're fairly easy.
I agree, because you think about when they're sleeping, you only have one child, you can nap too.
That was quite a thing. I remember us both sort of realising. I don't know who came up with the original idea. Was it you or me?
If it was good, it was me.
I always forget that. No, when I remember it being like a dawning moment. We realised that you could sleep while the baby was sleeping.
Yeah.
We had it in our head that you would sleep at night like a normal adult. And that's it.
Well, yeah.
And then
the realization...
You were getting real tired because you weren't sleeping at night because you were feeding the baby all night.
And just to briefly explain, because every baby's different, our first child took an hour to breastfeed. A full hour. He would scream between sides at the delay of having more milk. It was big babies, over 9 pounds when he was born. And then exactly 3 hours from the start of the last feed, so basically 2 hours later, he's ready to go again. And he's filled his pants.
Should you mention, for our fans, the book? Very loosely,
we were told...
It was loose.
We were told about the Baby Wise method. And trust me, I've read the articles that have come out. But first-time parents, we were handed the book when I was pregnant.
Are they sinister?
And of
Illuminati?
Lot of people... But all I did, very simply, was I would, during the day, aim. aim to breastfeed between 2.5 to 3 hours between feeds.
Yep.
There have been a few occasions, a few babies that might have been very distressed over something. I would feed them. But I found that we've managed to do this with 10 children, that there was very little crying for a feed unless we delayed it.
And
they'd last maybe 3.5 hours and then be like, I want to feed. But the trick is, during the day, say you've had the night before, the whole night you've been awake, you're losing your mind, you still try to have like a starting time. So my first feed of the day was, I think, 6 a.m. I considered that like clocking on. So 6, 9, 12, all the way up. I think my last
So during the day, the baby wise, I'm just trying to be clear, the baby wise rule was 3 hours during the day, and then as long as they can last at night.
As long as they can last.
So you start at 6, 9, 12. What comes after 3, 6, and then 9 was your
9.
last? 9 p.m.?
And I tried 9 for the last, but if the baby cried at 12, obviously you're going to feed your baby. You don't want...
So basically, you feed them 3 hours during the day, every 3 hours, and then at night you just let them last as long as they... And for the first few nights, it's not long at all. But eventually they get into this mode that nighttime is for sleeping. And that's how the psyche works, I guess. And it's been incredibly successful for us.
Incredibly. And what I was going to say, though,
and
is...
also probably one of the key reasons why we're chilled.
And why we
parents.
have 10 kids.
And why we had more. Because...
if they weren't sleeping, we would not be having...
What was our earliest sleep through her?
That was Grace, and she was 5 weeks old.
Sleeping through the night at 5 weeks.
12 hours.
And what was our worst sleep through
Our
her?
worst, I can't remember who it was, but it was 11 weeks.
11 weeks at the very worst. I remember speaking to guys, mates at work, that had 3.5-year-olds, and they hadn't slept through the night yet.
And they're in their bed.
And they're in their bed.
So that means the parents
they're
are
in the
also
parents'
not
bed.
sleeping.
Yep, they're in the parents' room.
So for us, I think it was a real priority to...
And I was just shocked. Like, how... If I had that, if I wasn't sleeping for 3.5 years, I would not be the person I am. I just wouldn't be.
But I have said this story that we were given the Baby Wise book. Let's backtrack.
Okay.
If you had a terrible night the night before, it's really tempting. You and the baby are both tired. It's tempting to just let the baby sleep. But the key was, if it got to about 3.5 hours during the day, even if we'd had a shocking night before, we forget about that. You don't stay in the past. I would wake the baby up. And I remember people going, oh,
You don't wake a sleeping baby.
And then I'm thinking, hang on a sec. I'm waking the baby up by changing its nappy and then lovingly holding it and giving it breast milk that it loves.
Yeah, you're doing a good thing.
So I'm not just waking it up to play with it.
Slap it around a bit.
And so the baby's then really content, which,
well,
like
you're teaching the baby. It's a teaching opportunity.
Yeah.
You're not waking it up willy-nilly. You're teaching the baby that daytime is awake time and nighttime is asleep time.
And then at night, if the baby's awake and unsettled, I'm not getting much sleep. I am up attending to the baby, but I try my hardest to pace, rock, cuddle, burp before that 3-hour mark hits.
Oh, yeah.
And then if we're still going and it's been 3 hours, I will feed the baby, no worries.
And before we recommend Baby Wise, there was a lot of rules in that book that we don't do.
I don't
That's
even,
like the only one.
I have recommended to other people, because over the years a lot of people have asked me. I recommend feeding your baby every 3 hours.
So you don't recommend Baby Wise, you recommend just 3-hour feed.
Yeah, no, and I don't even have the Baby Wise book anymore at all. Yeah. So I'll say to people, give it a go, but be consistent.
Yeah, you have to be consistent.
Consistency is...
It's a big word.
Yeah.
It's going to be a lot of in this podcast, probably.
So I have encouraged a lot of people with this method, and they have come back to me and gone, whoa, the baby actually slept 6 hours last night. And you got to
Yeah.
celebrate these wins.
Is there like an age where it won't work? Like, let's say someone's had 3 years of no sleeping. Well, that's a different thing. They're no longer breastfeeding.
That becomes a discipline issue for yourself and for the children.
Right.
You got to be disciplined enough, I guess. Whatever decision you make, they stick with it.
Thankfully, our starting in that method was at our start. Like, we didn't have 5 kids and then realised our first kid.
So grateful.
Yeah.
So grateful. And we got told this because I think there was somebody that we knew that didn't know about the method of feeding, that did have their first child and really struggled for a long time. And then they regrouped and had their second child and tried it. And I find it so confidence building in me. I became a much more confident mother because I was very fortunate. I didn't, unless we delayed the feed, say we were driving or putting it off for whatever reason, then the baby would really cry, like, feed me. But
and you can tell that cry. That's a different cry.
Yeah,
I
and
remember
that's
in
on
the
us.
car a few times. They were really squawking, and you just felt terrible.
Yeah. So it was all for peace of mind for us and the baby. So.
And don't underestimate the power of a good night's sleep for the parent. You are a better parent for it. So if you're thinking like, oh, I can't treat my baby like that, that's cruel or whatever, think of the cruelty involved in giving your child an unrested parent for the whole day.
And if you're listening to this and you either don't even have children, or your children are grown, or it doesn't apply to you, I find I have so much compassion for people who are really tired and worn out. And I mean, we have 10 kids, so I can't necessarily drop the whole family, but I have this compassion because there's going to be no merit in saying to somebody, oh, you did it to yourself. Oh, you made a rod for your own back. Help out the people that are struggling.
Yeah.
Help them get a break. Help them get sleep. You're not going to magically fix everything.
If you visit your girlfriend who's just had a kid, let her have a nap.
Let her have a nap.
Rather than having some coffee and some bickies, let her go have a sleep.
You fold the washing. You rock the baby.
Yeah.
And you let her have a nap.
She'll be eternally grateful.
I'm not even tired anymore, but I'd still take a nap.
You still feel like a nap? Yes, nice.
But yeah, so we started out with one child. We started out with that method of trying to feed basically to the clock during the day, comfort them at night, feed.
It's a top tip.
Yep.
It's definitely super coach tips.
But yeah, and then obviously as the child starts getting older, then you're starting to teach them appropriate levels of responsibility for their own things. So we're now at the stage.
Let's keep that for another episode, shall we?
Oh, you want to save the appropriateness level stuff?
Well, I don't know. You know.
Well, it's funny because we might chat with each other about what we might want to share, and then we could probably go for like 2 hours on the one topic.
Well, this is groundbreaking material, let's face it.
Well,
how to deal with a baby, a fresh newborn baby.
Yeah.
That's where it starts. That's where it starts for any size family, except for the ones that have triplets. They're in their own world.
But it was, I don't know. We didn't do any parenting classes. We didn't have any big conversations with people.
No.
I guess we both...
Did we have any competent, what you would consider competent parent friends? That's a no.
Well, I might need a while to think about it.
You can't remember back that far, or?
No,
I'll take your first answer.
Yeah, I would say, you know, like we had the first 5 children in 5 years. And I would say that we started meeting people that were like-minded probably after like the first 5 kids and just going,
Yep.
oh, there was so much, it was so wonderful to meet other people.
Maybe that can be an episode all on its own. What bad parents say.
We'd have to look it up on the internet. We'd have no idea.
No, we wouldn't know how bad parents behave, no.
Materials. But I was going to say that even though we didn't read any books or do courses and stuff like that, we both want to help each other out.
Yep.
So
that
you as the shift worker, I'd be wanting to keep the kids quiet so you could sleep. And you said because you couldn't breastfeed, you wanted to do things that you could do.
Well, I remember being at work, wanting to be home with my boy, my new boy, because I thought he was amazing. And I was right.
He still is.
He is. And I remember thinking when I got home, I'm like, yay, I'm home. Where's my son? And I'd grab him, hug him, and play with him. And then I'd be like, now I'm kind of useless because you're the one doing all the work. So, yeah, I found myself finding jobs that I can do to help you out. And you doing the same. Like you just mentioned, me being a shift worker for many years, you trying to keep the kids quiet is probably another episode.
Oh, the life of a shift worker.
Shift working widow.
Yeah, it took me a lot of years to actually cut myself major slack and say, here I am giving you all the praise. Oh, you're so good. You work this shift work. You're so amazing. And I'm kind of a words of affirmation type of person. I never cut myself any slack. Like if the kids were too loud, it was like, I didn't do it well enough. And I'd get so pent up and stressed that by Friday you'd be like, Catherine, please leave the house. You're not behaving well.
Yeah, I do remember kicking you out.
Yeah. And it took me a long time to go, you know what? This whole time you're working shift work, we're all working shift work.
Yeah, you're on it.
All of us, really.
And you need your breaks just as much as I do.
And you started your shift work job when Ethan was 7 weeks old.
Wow, really?
So our entire parenting career
was shift work.
Shift work.
And by shift work, that's a night, an afternoon, and a day shift on a 3-week rotation.
Brutal.
So day week, night week, afternoon week. It's pretty brutal. 16 years of it.
Yeah, and you're really positive. So even if Ben only got like 2 hours sleep, he'd be like, you know, well, it was all right. It'll be okay. And I'd be like on the floor dead.
Don't worry, by Thursday I'll crash. It'll
with
be
a fork
fine.
in me. I'm done. Yeah, so. But yeah, we've probably gone on
let's round off the episode with some top tips.
Bring it all together.
Baby wise, well, let's not call it baby wise. The 3-hour method, let's call it that.
Okay.
For newborn babies, feed them every 3 hours during the day and let them go as long as they can at night.
A widely accepted thing is feed, play, sleep. So obviously the baby isn't...
Oh, it didn't have a name. It had a name. What was the name? That way of feeding. It's not directed feeding. It's
not demand feeding.
Is it demand feeding?
No, because demand feeding is just wah wah meh, wah wah.
Oh yeah, the baby demands.
Baby.
Yeah, this is directed feeding. Planned clockwork feeding.
And it's so funny because people would say to me, "Oh, I couldn't be bothered watching a clock the whole time," and I'm sitting there going, "Trust me, you won't have to."
Just imagine the sleep. There's the goal. The sleep.
Yeah.
A night's sleep.
And yes, you may have that focus initially, but seeing how content the baby is.
Yeah.
You're feeding them. The play aspect, obviously, when they're super tiny, is looking at their beautiful face and burping them and changing their nappy and making sure their clothes are all comfortable and nice.
Pushing turds out with their legs.
Hey. But now I think we both look back on previous years, and two things come to mind. One is, wow, we survived. And two is the best years of our life.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. A mate at work, maybe to finish up the episode, a mate at work asked me, before you had kids, did you want to have kids? Like, is that what you saw?
Mm.
And I said to him, quite honestly, no. I'm a typical bloke. I like cars. And, yeah, I didn't really think of kids in my life. But having had kids, this is what I said to the guy, I wouldn't have it any other way.
Mm.
Like, the future I envisioned for myself is far less
Yeah.
than the level of life that I have now.
Mhm.
Even during lockdowns, it is way better than I would have given myself. That's for sure.
Yeah. And there really is a feeling of home isn't the four walls. Home is the family. So I'd say we're very close family. A lot of individuals and people with their own minds living together. So, you know, there are clashes from time to time.
Oh, yeah.
But generally, you will find us all gravitating towards the same spaces.
Yep.
You know, like tiny kitchen, and we've got like 6 people in the kitchen yelling, "Get out of
Yep.
here!" Because that's just home is the people.
Yeah, and that's where everybody in this family gravitates to each
Yeah.
other.
So it's been quite the ride. It's been at times very challenging, but
And this podcast is a lie. There was sweat involved. I mean, it has been hard work. It's not easy.
oh yeah,
I'm not being
because
rude.
do you remember, you know, particularly with one of our children, I think we'd already had, I won't give his name up, but we already had 4 children. And then we had a 5th child. And I remember he was about 18 months, 2 years old. It was Elijah. I remember
I worked it out.
he chucked a tantrum in public, and I was really freaking out.
Right.
And you came up to me and you're like, the groundwork's done at home, the consistency's done at home. And I do remember a full week of him really trying to assert his dominance over me, and a full week of me putting my hand on his mouth to show him that that noise coming out is a bad idea.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Mm-hmm.
And then laying him on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
No. And any sign of him calming down, good boy, and then he,
Nope. Turn it up.
no, really consistent. There have been probably many examples of something like that. Part of us being consistent is us being very honest. So if we're going to hand down a punishment like 1 month of no gaming,
We gotta
early
stick to it.
bedtime,
Hey, we can save this. You're giving out golden rules here. Let's not just give them away.
so there you go. There's another conversation with
But the consistency, like you were saying, starts at birth.
and it starts with yourself.
Starts with the breastfeeding. The regimented's got some negative connotations. The consistency of breastfeeding teaches the kid how to sleep.
And it applies to bottle feeding as well. I know many people who have bottle fed and still had the same routine, and it has been as successful.
Yeah.
Breastfeeding's obviously generally easier.
Yeah, because it's right there. You don't have to heat anything up.
And I'm not saying the journey of learning how to breastfeed was that easy. And
We've had bottles, and they're a pain in the butt.
Newsflash for you, if you've learned how to breastfeed your first junior, when your second junior comes along, you got to relearn it all over again. Because
Every
it's a
baby's
brand
different.
new baby. But
With a different appetite.
yeah, cutting yourself a lot of slack and thinking, what do I really want?
Mhm.
And trying to pivot your life to what you want.
Mm-hmm.
It takes many consistent, deliberate steps to get there. And
That's an interesting point, and we should probably save that as well. But I will add, you're the parent. You're the parent. That's rule number 1. So you can.
You can do it.
You can.
You are equipped.
You don't need to give yourself permission. You are the parent.
And you can do it. Be encouraged that you can do it.
Yeah.
You have been given your child. You can do it. But find help. If you need help,
Yeah.
find help. You can
Yep.
message us and we can encourage you and tell you you're doing a great job. Keep trying. Keep
Yep.
fighting the good fight. And yeah.
With the podcast, and this being the second episode.
Episode 100.
Well, this is where you guys come in. We wanted to start up a social media page, a Facebook page, which we have. 10 Kids No Sweat.
Yes.
Is it a page?
So it's
Or is it a group?
It's a group.
It's a group page, a page of groups.
And so that's on Facebook. Look up 10 Kids No Sweat. And it'll have the same like photo as the thumbnail for our videos and our
And what we wanted
Spotify.
What we wanted to do at the end of episodes is do like a little social media segment where you guys can ask questions and we'll answer them. Like, I don't know, top question of the week or something like that.
You can share. Like I was saying to Ben.
It doesn't even have to be a question. It can be a joke. We love memes.
Mhm.
Like, within reason, guys. Thank you.
And also
You have a great mum face.
also the realization that we haven't got absolutely everything worked out. Only
No.
like 99%. Really.
Well, 99.8, let's say.
So we would just love the interaction with other people, sharing funny stories or you know, tips and tricks that you guys may have come across.
Maybe
You
you're not
have
doing baby
learnt-
wise. Maybe you got another trick.
Hearing about your life, your family, and what makes you guys you. Because that, you know, I care about people. I do. And I like to have a fair amount of fun on social media, joking around with people. And I've certainly learned over the years that many topics can be very polarizing. And hey, who knows? We may end up having an entire podcast that is very polarizing.
And we want the social media, the 10 Kids No Sweat, to be a good place for parents to come.
Yeah.
Future parents, old parents with tricks that we don't know.
Yeah.
All of it. All of it.
Because we've got one shot at life, guys. Only one go.
So let's do it together.
And let's enjoy it. Because I think there's a lot of negativity associated with
Parenting.
and we even, you know, we made a rare public appearance as all 12 of us. We went to the local playground and we met a child there,
How old would he be? Like 8?
maybe
9?
10
Maybe
years
10?
old tops, and
Riding his bike, just being a kid.
and he said all those things that grown-ups say.
Yeah.
Same parents. And he kept saying, it must be so chaotic. It must be so chaotic. And I said to my husband, to Ben, when the kid walked away, I said, usually if they're really just had their mind blown over it, they'll come back with more questions.
And he did.
And he did. And I ended up saying to him, I said, look at me right now. And he looked at me. I said, do I look stressed? Do we look chaotic? And he's like, it makes no sense. I don't understand it. And I thought,
I think I asked him at that point, why are you and your sister chaotic?
Yeah.
And do you guys get along? And he was like, yeah, we get along. But he just thinks like a maths problem, 2 times 5 is 10. So it must be 5 times the chaos.
Couldn't imagine it. And then he said, I can't imagine what your food salary might be.
I don't want to know what it is.
And it's funny him saying food salary. I'm like, oh, the food shopping. And I used to think we spent tons of money on food, which, I mean, we do. But
Comparatively.
per unit, I think we have a pretty good system.
We're pretty cheap. Which could be another episode. So yeah, we haven't got anything to say about the social media at the moment because you guys aren't on there asking questions,
I don't think anybody knows about it. It's just
sending in memes.
we're the admins and there's no other members of the group.
Yeah. So far,
It's small steps,
small
you know.
steps.
Man, learning
truth.
curve, big time. But it's been fun so far, and this is, girlfriends, you should, even if you never upload it, do a podcast with your husband because it forces them to sit down with you and actually talk.
And he's got all these cool new techie toys to play with.
Yeah.
And work out how the hell they work.
So, yeah. So, thanks for joining us for
Yep.
episode 2 of 10 Kids, No Sweat. I hope that something we have said today has been encouraging to you or thought-provoking. Nothing triggering. We're not wanting to
No.
trigger anybody. But, you know, it's good to think about your life and how you do things.
Yep.
And we hope that you keep on keeping on. And that you join us in. So we've got the social media page, Facebook. We don't have an Instagram.
Yeah, but are we
We do have our own Instagrams.
Oh yeah, but are we gonna do a thingy?
I don't know. One thing at a time, bro.
One thing. Just can't.
And then this obviously gets uploaded onto YouTube, so people can see our faces and hear
And
our
not
voices.
just hear our voices.
And then we're on Spotify.
Yep.
Apple.
Apple
Is it just
and
they're called
Google.
Apple and Google Play? Google. Yeah, and I don't even know. Are we supposed to go back and look up things on there?
Maybe.
Yeah. So if any social media or tech experts out there,
Yeah, give us a hand.
PewDiePie, if you're listening to this, you can lend us a hand.
Huh?
And I'll add various things in description boxes to try to get people to find out where the heck we are.
Yeah.
And we'll go from there. I think that's a game plan.
That's it.
And our next episode will be a mystery because we don't even know what it is.
We've got a lot of ideas, but we need to decide.
And obviously I've got this one who's tempering. Hold it.
Yeah.
Hold it back.
Yeah.
Bring it back. Swing it back. So yeah, there you go. Thanks for listening or watching. And we'll see you in the next wonderful episode of 10 Kids.
No sweat.
Bye guys.
Bye.